A little overview. Sound System actually started in Jamaica during the time of Windrush and people coming over, even going before Windrush, when people were coming over from other countries to come to England to help rebuild England after the war. So you had all these different cultures coming in, and we are from West Indian heritage. With us came our culture, our music and everything. So we couldn't get any halls or places to go to, like discos. We weren't welcome in pubs or anything. So what we did was we brought the sound system over from Jamaica. In our exhibit you'll see some smaller valve amplifiers, and so that's what was used at the time because of people were short of money to start Sound System. And we would then entertain after work, have little parties or whatever, and we'd have them in houses. And we used to call these blues parties. And the only reason why they existed because we weren't allowed to go into community halls or anything like that. So Sound System started out in England in blues parties and then progressed into church halls, which then progressed into auditoriums to what we have today. But Cultural Roots started in the blues, and I'll pass it over to Colton to explain.
Exactly that. So if you just go back a little way back into time to where Sound System started, which was in Jamaica. And the reason why they started sound systems in Jamaica, at that particular time they were playing rhythm and blues. Reggae didn't really come in then. And then over a period of time they just wanted basically their own music, so that's where reggae was formed, ska, rocksteady, and reggae was formed from those music there. In Jamaica at the time was a sound system called Tom the Great Sebastian, and he had a fairly large sound system. So from there other people kind of copied him to build their sound systems, and one of the iconic sound systems at that particular time was owned by a guy called Osborne Ruddock, and he built a sound system. So because of him particularly, I saw a picture of him, and that basically gave me the inspiration to want to build a sound system. It's to show the community what items we used back in the day, like with the glass fish. As Patrick said, it's got nothing to do with the sound, but I think most communities, whether it's the Italians or the Asians, the West Indians, most of them in their front room had a fish. So it's just nostalgia, it's just to awaken people's mind, because when they walk in they think it's all about the sound system. But even though the fish might not be part of the sound system culture, it was really. So when the people come in to actually see the sound system museum, they're expecting to see sound system equipment. But when they see the lamp, the heater, it brings back memories. When they see the glass fish, it brings back memories. You know, we've got a old VCR, VHS recorder that used to put your massive cassettes in to watch films. We've got that in our collection. We've got so many different things. We've got old-time Sony TV, which is about 50 odd years old, but that's what we had in our garage when we used to be there watching films and so forth, or watching programs while we were doing what we. So it all relates. It's all linked in some way or form. The Gram was like a furniture. It's a furniture item. So with the Gram, you had your record player, the radio, and your couple of speakers at the side. In the middle, you had a cabinet where drinks were stored. So that was, I would say, your sound system, because when they used to do house parties, that's what they were using. So we had a person called Lucky Harry, who's just passed away recently. That's what he was using in house parties. It was a Gram. So the front room was basically a room in the house that was, you weren't allowed in there as a child, number one, that was always locked. And it was the what would you say, Patrick, the main part of the house?
Yeah, if I can go back, when our parents came here, and they were very, clearly they just started a job, they had no money, because all the money they had, they paid for the fare to get here. When they were able to get somewhere to rent, which was very difficult, and then on top of that, some of them put together a partner hand because they weren't allowed bank accounts. So what they did was every week, everybody would put money together, and then they'd give it to one person, and then the following week somebody else would get it, and so on. And this is how they bought their first house. So after they bought their first house, they sort of like championed that by having one special room which was special to them, to that particular family. And that room would have everything in it. So the kids were banned from that room. We couldn't go in there. So in that room, you'd have your sofas and everything pretty and nice was in that room. And that room was there so that our parents, when they came in, because they did suffer a lot of racial prejudice as well, so they had a lot to deal with in the day. And then when the kids are around screaming and running around the house, that room was their room of solace. So they'd go into that room and it was beautifully decorated, it had nice wallpaper, the pictures of all their parents back home who they hadn't seen for years, and that room would be their room to say that this is what we've achieved to get here. And so in our exhibit, you're going to have items from that front room which will be in there so that people who went through that experience can relate to the things that they saw in there, and also it's for people who don't relate to it can actually look and ask the question as to why that front room is so important, because that room is so important for, like they say now, for their mental health at that time, because there was no other way of really showing what the massive journey they had made and what they'd achieved to get to that point. So the front room was a way of saying, yes, I made it. It might have been small for everybody else, and to us now, as their children, we're thinking, well, why? But yeah, I've got the bruises on my back from the beating for sneaking into the room to try and get out the drinks cabinet that are in the gram. So yeah, very important room.